What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. It's your host, Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the NG model 1:400 scale Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 7. In this video, I'll do an in-depth review of the model and its features, and at the end of the video, I will give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. The box is a small cardboard box with dimensions of 13 centimeters for length, 13 centimeters for height, and 4 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. So this is the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and the back side. Included in the box is the model, assembled, painted, and ready to display. Also included is a collector rewards program card. Before I begin my review, I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the model. The fuselage length is 9 centimeters, wingspan is also 9 centimeters, and from the ground to the top of the vertical stabilizer, this model is 3.1 centimeters tall. Pretty small and accurate to 1:400 scale. This model is made primarily out of die-cast metal. Starting the review with the fuselage and a very high zoom for this one. The nose profile on this model seems to be pretty good. I don't really have anything to complain about. The cockpit windows might be slightly high. As you can see, there's an almost negligible gap between the difference in the curve here between the nose cone and the rest of the fuselage. Okay, I'm nitpicking at very small things at this rate, so disregard that. Painted detail seems to be pretty good. Paint application is good. However, the blue color here is far too dark for the Southwest hard blue. It should be much lighter than this. And what's weird is that NG used to get this color right. However, recently, with their recent releases, they pretty badly butchered the color. The color is concerningly inaccurate, especially coming from NG. Printed detail looks pretty good, and here, as we move down the fuselage, you can definitely see that with all of the details. I do see a weird finish on the model. Oh, that's probably the oily finish. This is like the second time I've opened this thing, so the oily finish that is on some of the models is definitely not washed off yet. Here's the vertical stabilizer and a much more manageable camera zoom. Everything here looks pretty good. Paint application seems to be good. The white stripe here might be getting a little too wide up at the top of the vertical stabilizer. Not by much, but just a little. I'm not 100% sure on that though, so correct me if I'm wrong. But aside from that, everything seems to be pretty decent. There's a small bit of red paint peeking into the white here. Nothing too major though, so I won't complain about it. And yeah, everything seems to be pretty good. Again, that blue color here on the vertical stabilizer is also inaccurate. That's the only thing I can really complain about. I'll move down the right side of the aircraft now. So I've adjusted the camera exposure to best match the colors of the model. So the colors you see on your screen right now, that is the actual color of the model. So you can see just how dark that blue on the fuselage is. It's really starting to mess with me now. But aside from that, everything I said about the left side of the aircraft can also be applied to the right side of the aircraft. So the major issue that I'm having with this model is that blue color. Aside from that, everything else is pretty darn good. Moving on to the wings on this model, and there's that oil finish again, I swear. Alright, so the wings on this model are pretty nice from the looks of it. Detail is present as it should. You can see the molded detail for the control surfaces, clearly defined, not filled in with paint. Great to see. Printed detail is nice and consistent as well, and the painted detail looks pretty good, especially with the different shades of gray. Very nicely done on the wings. I didn't expect anything less from NG. They usually do good on their 737 MAX wings. Under here, not much to see, but there really isn't much to put, so that's not really a complaint. Now, for these scimitar tips, if you could see them, that'd be... Okay, there you go. So the scimitar tips look really good. You can see the Southwest logo going on there very nicely, and the shape is accurate. I don't really see too much inconsistency with the paint. Yeah, no, I don't really see any issues with the scimitars. So the scimitar tips look really nice. So that's the one on the left side. The one on the right side is also pretty good. Something I'd like to point out is that the scimitar tips from NG 1:400 scale 737 MAX family models, they're much less prone to being tilted or at weird angles than the 737 NG family from NG model in 1:400, if that makes sense. So if you are concerned and picky with the wingtips, as I am, then you don't really have that much to worry about with the 737 MAX family from NG. Now let's talk about the rear section of the aircraft. Here, everything seems to be pretty good. The gap between the horizontal stabilizers and the fuselage is a little bit bigger than I've seen on other models, so that is one thing to consider. And hold on a minute, are those asymmetrical? Alright, so upon further analysis, it appears as though the right horizontal stabilizer is angled ever so slightly more backwards than the one on the left. That's not cool. I don't like asymmetry like that. So it's a small thing, but me personally, I'm not a fan of it. APU looks good. It's just nice and pointy as it should be. And down here, things look good as well. While we're looking down here, take a look at the stripes. This is where the stripes meet up, and the stripes are perfectly aligned. Well done on the part of NG there. Moving on to the engines. The engines on this model appear to be very nicely detailed. Once again, the blue color on the engines, it matches the too dark color from the fuselage, so that's the one issue I have with the engines. Aside from that, the engines look really nice. Detail is pretty good and accurate. The exhausts look amazing with their silver colors. Overall, a really solid job on the engines, and there is your fan blade detail for those of us who are curious about that. Looks really good all around. Moving on to aerial details, this model features sat domes and antennas. So here are the antennas at the top of the aircraft. These look pretty good. There's a larger one at the midsection and a smaller one back here. These look pretty nice, so I really don't have much to complain about. You can see they're aligned correctly as well. Alright, so we're going to deviate from the topic a bit here. Look at the joint between the fuselage and the vertical stabilizer. That's a pretty large joint gap from what I can see. That's not what I'm used to seeing. And it's definitely prominent from the side here too. I'll take that into note later. Now for the sat dome, this looks pretty good as well. The white border is accurate too, so good job on that. Here are these two smaller antennas down here. These are the larger size and they look pretty good as well. And then there's one here, and there's really not much to say. Just the antennas and aerial features on this model are overall pretty good. Now let's move on to the landing gear, and that is a very large hair. Get out of the hair. There we go. So the landing gear on this model look nicely detailed, as you can see here. Really isn't much to criticize. The wheels are made out of rubber and they do roll smoothly, so that's nice to see. And they are angled. What the heck happened there? Okay, for a second I saw that the wheel was angled and I thought I detached something from the gear, so sorry about that. So there you go. So you can see that the wheels do misalign every once in a while when you do roll them. Okay, that's strange. All right, so the gears are angled slightly backwards, which is accurate, so that's nice to see. That's the main gear. And then the nose gear, this looks pretty good as well. The wheel rolls smoothly and it's made out of rubber. So the landing gear are very solid on this model. Here's a look at the front of the aircraft. Cockpit window printing seems symmetrical. Wing flex is acceptable. I do notice that the horizontal stabilizer wing flex is slightly asymmetrical. Not by much though, so asymmetry, it messes with me. Engine clearance looks good. Gear balance looks good. And the vertical stabilizer, unsurprisingly, is slightly angled to the left. I really did expect that to happen once I saw that seam gap between the vertical stabilizer and the fuselage. It's not huge, but it's larger than average. That's what I'd like to say about that. That's the end of my review. Now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. Overall, the model is decent. It had a few more problems or imperfections than I expected. Now, the one that threw me off the most was obviously the color. NG has historically gotten this blue color correct, and as you notice, this model is a little bit tail heavy too, so that's one more thing. Alright, I'm starting to shift opinions here. So yeah, this model, it's good, but it could be better, in my opinion. So like I said, the blue color, that's just unforgivable. Well, not unforgivable, but that's pretty concerning. That might be a make or break for a lot of collectors. I'm usually forgiving on color, but this is pretty far off, in my opinion. So do what you will with that information. That's all I really have to say about the color. The other imperfections, they're okay. The seam gap between the vertical stabilizer and the fuselage, definitely larger than average, but not terrible. The asymmetry with the horizontal stabilizers, not pleasant to see either. So also unexpected from NG, since I've never really seen NG have these kinds of problems. So if you're willing to put up with the imperfections on this model, get it. Personally, I'm not really sure if I'd recommend it or not. I'll leave this as an ambiguous case. I'm not sure if I would. If you like the 737 MAX-7, go for it. If you don't, and you don't really need this model, then don't get it. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to say, feel free to drop that down below in the comment section. And that's the end. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more model airplane content. Happy building, happy collecting. Take care of yourselves. See you in my next video.